Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielson and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
What's going on, everybody? 11:01 here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Dusty with you, and I am set up live at the Mail Boston Pizza. I'll be here for Oil Stream a little bit later on today as well. And, of course, you can text us anytime, 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. This place is just opening. It's weird having the whole Boston Pizza lounge to yourself right now. It's like I own the place. That's why I'm having an iced tea with a lemon inside of it, you know? Pretty chill day. Patty and Huss are going to be joining me. We're going to get into our golf plays right off the top, Cognizant Classic, and then Huss and I will dive into a light night in the NHL schedule after Patty has to check out about midway through the show. You can hit us up over on the Nasty Chat as well. Desker over there says Riverhawk hoodie looks really nice. Yeah, these are great Riverhawks hoodies. I'm not going to lie. This is one of my favorite hoodies. Extremely comfortable, not super heavy. And we were very excited to be partners with the Riverhawks last year, having their games broadcast live on Edmonton Sports Talk. Hoping to have that relationship again with them and the Stingers this year. But yeah, if you want to pop them by for lunch and get that $15 lunch menu, if it's not ready if it's ready and it takes more than 20 minutes, you get free lunch the next time you come. So swing on by here. It's also Wednesday, which means the wings are on special as well. They got tons of great game day specials here as well. So the Mayo Boston Pizza on 97th Street. It took me like 15 minutes to get here from work. Just took the Henday up and around, and right here on the north side. Lots to get to. Lock Shop has been absolutely red hot. If you've not yet signed up for an account with our partners over at Coolbet, when you do, use the code LOCKSHOP and you get a 100% deposit bonus on your initial deposit up to $200. And good night last night. TGL hit. We're bringing the boys here as soon as they're ready. The partner parlay hits. My ride with Dusty on the Lakers game, this was a heartbreaker. I mean, we've been hitting so many lately. I had Austin Reeves over 25.5 points, rebounds, assists. He ended up with 28. Had the Lakers minus 4.5. They covered that. And I had Luka over 46.5 points, rebounds, and assists. And he finished with 46. Had him over 46.5. And the bastard had triple-double, but he finished with 46. Went 1 for 7 from beyond the arc, which, you get one of those, and I'm comfortably cashing that. So that was a little frustrating. But outside of that, we've been absolutely rolling. Kelvin C. over on the Nasty Chest says, Dusty, is a chicken stromboli in your future today? We'll have to see here at some point. It all comes down to the experience level of the kitchen staff. So I'll certainly poke around a little bit there and see if they can bring the smoked ham and chicken stromboli sandwich out of retirement. All right, if Pat and Huss are good to go, Trev, you can roll them on in here, and fun golf episode coming up. And, of course, Oil Stream later on today. Winnipeg Sports Talk starting at noon Edmonton time over on the WST channel as well. Boys, what's going on? How are we today?
I mean, do we need to ask? I'm just hoping that Pat's not coming in to put me on timeout right now, because I think the magic waters of Costa Rica are still it carried through to Boston. And I ran the table last night, Dusty. Ran the table. We got the three-game partner parlay. Yeah. We hit the Barrett Hayden play of the day, and whoever it was that tipped me off to that.
That was in the chat yesterday, yeah.
Plus 148 for that one. Of course, we had the TGL last night. Also had, remember, Luka under 30.5 and
yes, that's right.
9.
Plus 9. That's right. That cash too.
Everything coming in, and then Patty, our team, the Bayhive, comes through again. It was awesome. Pat, it's good to see you. Man, did we miss you last week. All-time week with the fellas.
I know. I'm still feeling the FOMO. Even just when we have our marketing calls with Ange and Jake, big grins on them. But no, you guys had a blast. Boston will never be the same without you guys there.
It's fun.
Indeed. The good thing about this, though, fellas, is Boston went so well. I think we can probably run it back with another trip coming up here soon. And I'll make sure to clear my schedule, make sure I can make this. Of course, it might not be a Canadian national victory, but I'm sure we could find something that will be pretty fun.
Well, I'll say this, the numbies, as Jake says, keeps coming in. I just checked the video of me yelling at
I haven't looked at that in a couple days. Yeah.
Up the cup. It's got over 100,000 views and over 6,000 likes.
Really?
Every single time I go to my my phone, it's like 100 hearts, and it just keeps on. People love Sidney Crosby, and you don't get a chance to see him very much, sort of just away from the cameras as normal is. That was the craziest thing about that spot for folks that have seen that video. And if you go to Coolbet or myself on Instagram, you'll see the reel. Like, we were there for, I don't know. I mean, I was just looking at the timing of the photos from like just before midnight to about after 2 a.m. Sid was basically at the trophy almost the entire time, not because he was hogging it, because every single person on the team wanted a picture with him. And the trophy. I mean, basically the entire Team Canada celebrated, and Sidney Crosby sat at a photo booth for 2 hours and accommodated everybody. But it was great to see, and obviously great to see how many people were enjoying the everything that we fired out. But Patty, we got to stay hot. You know, I've been kicking ass in everything except golf this year. So I'm hoping that maybe we can bring that to the Cognizant Classic today.
Yeah. Patty, we got hosed last week, didn't we?
Oh my God, I couldn't believe it. And you know, shout out to you being accountable. The mush might have been real. It seems like anytime you bring up a parlay and say it's close to home, it's just, it happens. But it's funny because if you didn't say it, I was going to say it. And because it's so funny because I was looking at the leaderboard and I was thinking to myself, man, like,
we were in a really good spot.
We're in a really good spot. So I'm kind of glad you were taking the heat here because I was literally almost about to text the exact same thing. And then Huss lets us know. I stopped checking because I'm like, we're good. We're good here. I was more focused on, you know, if the chance that my Akshay Bhatia bet for top 10 was going to cash. But nonetheless, it's an opportunity for us to bounce back. You guys talked about it. I think it was on Monday, maybe even yesterday's show. Like, this is a wild leaderboard, an odds board. Just the numbers. We don't have the big names, but this is also not a list of no names. There still are some bigger names, but the odds makers certainly having a hard time figuring out who is that odds on favorite. And I think this is an opportunity here where you can get some good value on some players that are in and around the top, but also in that 50-1 range as well.
Yeah, if people missed it, I mean, this is so unlike more normal boards that we go through. I mean, Shane Lowry's the favorite, 20-1. And then you've got a big group at 22 with Berger, Henley, Sepp Straka, and Sung J M. Min Woo and Pendy are at 28. Killa Keith and Benny On at 33. And then a big group of players between 40, 50, and 60. I mean, like the how deep it goes down into that group, we never see. But we also, Pat, are never seeing favorites in PGA tournaments that are 20-1. And to be honest, obviously this used to be the Honda Classic. This is the place where they go. We've got good course history. But this seems to be as wide open as any tournament I think we've talked about when we got in on Wednesday in the lock shop.
Yeah, it really is. And you talk about the guys at the top. I thought there would be a little bit of a shorter number on a guy like Lowry. I'm still probably going to stay away from him to win. I just feel like there's just too much pain with him with the flat stick over the last couple of years at this tournament, most notably as well. So if I had a suggestion, if you wanted a piece of Lowry, I think the play would be to either live bet him after the first or second round if he doesn't start off too hot, or up your unit intake a little bit and bet him at a top 10 or a top 5, because I think he's going to be there. I think when all is said and done, Sunday rolls around, he's going to be on that top leaderboard. It's just, is his putting going to be able to save him for a victory? And I just don't think so.
All right, well, let's get into it here. You mentioned an interesting board. I've got a couple of guys up near the top, got another guy down around that 50 number. Patty, you already mentioned Shane Lowry, in maybe a top 10 or something like that. Who do you like? Who are you getting on to win this thing?
Well, I think there's going to be some crossover on this board, and I'm going to start things off with a friend of the program, Russell Henry at Henley at plus 2,200. I think when you look at some other books, he's actually the co-favorite with Lowry at 20-1. So I actually think at Coolbet you're getting some value on Russ the Bus here, and he has owned PGA National. He has a really good track record here at this course, posting 2 top 10 finishes in the last 5 years, including a win back, and you look farther, a playoff win in 2014. You know, he has been such a consistent player on tour. I know he hasn't won in a couple of years, but in the last 12 months alone, he's finished inside the top 7 events. He's started this season off really sharp as well. 2 top 10 finishes in his last 4 starts, including a top 5 at Pebble Beach. And he's the type of guy that when we get into the Florida swing here, this is where he really makes his hay. So the fact we're getting him at 22-1 in this field, I had no choice but to hop on Russell Henley. Another familiar name, Billy Ho, 50-1. I was dumbfounded that for as good of a golfer as he is, that we're getting him at 50-1. I get it. I understand he really struggled in California, but similar to Henley, this is a guy that thrives on the Florida swing. He's from Florida, and he's had a lot of really good course history as well. In his last 8 trips to PGA National, he has 3 top 10 finishes and 2 top 20 finishes on top of that as well. He finished T9 at this event, and it kind of works out. It's really funny how this is working out. He really struggled on the West Coast swing last year, and then he broke out and finished T9 at this event, and that kind of propelled him into the rest of the season that we saw Billy Ho have. Over the past 36 rounds, he ranks 9th in stroke gain total in Florida, and 4th in stroke gains in difficult or very difficult conditions, which it sounds like we could be getting. So Billy Ho at 50-1, I probably will get him in some sort of parlay if we don't put him in ours. And then last but certainly not least, Luke Clanton. I know he has been a familiar name that's popped up here, the amateur. I think last week he was playing a collegiate game or a collegiate match for FSU. He won a tournament. The team won a tournament. He's from Florida, so he has a lot of familiarity here. But the interesting thing with Clanton is that, you know, if he makes the cut here, he will earn his full tour PGA card status. So I like him to be in the mix. He's an elite ball striker. He keeps the ball in the fairway. That is super, super important here. You know, I think that this is a course that fits really well with him. And at 50-1 in this field, I think he's got enough pop in his game that come Sunday, he's in the mix here.
All right, what are you looking at, buddy?
Well, you know, this, as I mentioned, this is a tough field to sort of single out a few guys. Sungjae Im is a guy that's won in this one here before. He has won, yep.
Mr. Florida.
Although he's Sungjae's slim now. Have you seen how jacked he is?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm actually a little worried that that's going to screw up his golf. So I'm not taking him this week. I mean, they need to get him down to 5 guys or something a little bit more and get back to where it is. Intrigued by Min Woo Lee. And I'll be honest, Patty, I didn't have him on my card, but you've sold me on Billy Ho. I have added Billy Ho to the card. You know, one of the leaders of the Atlanta Drive. It seems like ever since he put that Dirty Bird necklace on after their first win, he's really been feeling it right now. And I love the fact that he is a Florida guy coming over to this point. You mentioned a top 10 last year. This is one of the courses that I think you can't extrapolate former success at this course before. And that's why I'm going to start with Sepp Straka. Straka won this tournament, followed it up with the T5 the following year. He did miss the cut last season, but he's already been contending. He's been right there this year. I mean, he's been playing at a really, really high level. So I'm going to put a little, like of those guys, it was basically between Daniel Berger and Sepp Straka. And I think Berger probably is in the mix, but I think the win probability of Straka with the ceiling of his game kind of just gives the tiebreaker goes to Sepp. But to be honest with you, if you want a safer play, Straka plus 125, top 20. I think to get him at plus money for that, and I'll say that right now. I'm going to throw that out for the partner parlay. Love that if we're thinking top 20s. So I'm going to start with Sepp Straka. I think this is a great spot to get on Pendy as well. Taylor Pendrith has, people have been waiting for him to pop, and he's had some good performances. This is a course where the length is really important. He doesn't have to beat the Rorys and like the top guys. This could be a perfect spot for Taylor Pendrith. So 22-1 for Sepp Straka, 28-1 on Pendy. And then, you can go on and maybe take a couple of shots in this 40 to 60 range. And, you mentioned Billy Ho at 50. Another guy that seems like he's going to win at some point soon, and we're going to be like, wow, how did we miss that guy, is Ben Griffin. And Ben Griffin, his number at Coolbet right now is 50-1, which is the best number I've seen on him. I'm just looking at some guys' picks and some other things. He's been booking at 40 or 45, so I think we're getting a better number. So the Ben Griffin narrative, I think, is intriguing. Definitely worth a bit of a longer shot. We're getting an even better number, which you always like to see. So we'll do a bit of a long shot on Ben Griffin. I've added Billy Ho, but the two guys I'm sort of focusing in on win bets, Sepp Straka and the Canadian, Taylor Pendrith.
Patty, any thoughts on Huss's picks before I dive into mine? What about Pendy?
No.
Where are you at on Pendy this week?
Yep. Pendy, I think you lay out a lot of really good things. The one thing that kind of scares me with Palm Beach here is you do have to be a bit accurate with staying in that fairway. His putter hasn't been as strong as we've seen in compared to last year, but when Pendy has popped us, like he's played well in some of these bigger tournaments where there have been some big names, but you could argue that from a talent perspective, he's who's truly more talented than him? Maybe Straka, maybe Henley, maybe a Sungjae. I don't think it's much more than that.
Yeah, possibly a top 5 talent guy in this field. You're right.
So yep. I agree with you. I think it's just him getting back to his old ways with his putter, and if his driver gets leaky, we know he can mash it. So you're right. His length could be a huge advantage here. I like the Pendy pick though.
I'm also on Straka. He's one of my 3 guys that I was looking at here, so I wasn't surprised that one of you 2 guys were going to be on that as well. Obviously, a win here a few years ago, T5 in 2023, and he's been good so far this year as well. I mean, whenever you go look at a leaderboard, you're like, oh, there's Sepp Straka again. He's got 4 top 15s right now and is 3rd in the FedEx Cup standing. So it's been a great start to the season. He's had the success here before, so I'm 100% on board with that plus 125 top 20 for Straka to get him into the partner parlay. You mentioned Shane Lowry earlier, and Huss, I know you mentioned, looking at what they've done here and this course, you can really sort of read into this time around. I am going to get on Shane Lowry here. I know it's like 20-1. It's like, I love it. 6. I mean, exactly. Like you can get the favorite in this thing at 20-1, runner up in 2022, T4 and T5 the last 2 years. I mean, he's, as far as this course goes, there's not many guys in the field here that actually play it better than Shane Lowry. So I'm going to get a Shane Lowry at 21. Straka was 22-1 when I was looking at it earlier today. Still sitting at 22-1. And then one guy from that 5,000 range, the plus 5,000. And you guys have mentioned some of the other ones. The guys who are in there, Griffin, Billy Ho, Kim, Kitayama, Moore, Novak. I didn't mind Novak. He was kind of a guy that just missed out on the cut on my picks. I am actually going to go with Lucas Glover, who had a T3 at Pebble and has 4 top 25s at this event over the last 7 years. So there's a guy that's found his way to not maybe be in the thick of it on Sunday, but has actually played the course pretty well. And he's in that group at 50-1. It actually goes at plus 5,000. Vegas is in there. Woodland's in there. Like there's a bunch of guys in that range. Rogers, who we just missed on last week from cashing the top 24s. But I think my favorite from that group is Lucas Glover. So I'm going to get on Lucas Glover at plus 5,000, Straka at 22-1, and then Shane Lowry at 20-1.
Hey, just quickly on Glover, Pat, was it the Honda that started off the Well, shall we say the legal issues for his wife when she was going after him, pissed off that he didn't finish the tournament well? I seem to remember that was the Florida Swing, potentially the Honda Classic a few years ago.
I think you might be right. I thought you were going to ask if this was the tournament where he sweat through his khakis when he won that tournament. And I think that was in Memphis in August. All-time visual of him sweating through his khakis. But yeah, I think he was sweating. He definitely was sweating, but for a different reason. I think you're right. I think that was the Honda a couple of years ago.
He's had a nice start to this year too. I mean, he was 31 at Torrey. He missed the cut in Phoenix, but was T3 at Pebble. Missed the cut at the Amex, and then was T21 for the first tournament of the year. So he actually is a guy that, obviously, I mean, you can always miss a cut or two, but when he's in there, he's performed quite well. A lot of possibilities for a T20 parlay, Patty, when we look at everyone that comes in. I think with Dusty and I both on Sepp Straka,
got to be in there. I think
125 number. We kind of start with there. Who are you thinking, Pat?
I mean, so just quickly, because I talked about it last week. My top 20 picks of late have been absolutely on fire. I had Jason Day at the Farmers, that cashed. Taylor Pendrith at Pebble Beach, that cashed. Mav McNeely at Phoenix, that cashed. The Genesis, I think I had Pendy. That one didn't cash, though. Last week, Potager, Aldrich Potager, I believe that's how you pronounce it, in Mexico. I had him top 20. The guy almost won the freaking tournament. So my top 20s, I think it's like, 4 or 5 of the last 6 or 4 of the last 5. So I love your guys' Straka pick. I think I'm probably going to bet Straka outright. I think I'm going to add him in my card. I think he's a must there. The other ones that I would look, I know it's a parlay and it's top 20. I'm looking at Lowry at plus 110 or Henley, who I'm already on, at plus 110. My pick for like my best top 20 pick was going to be Lowry, so I'd be fine with either one of those. I'd be okay with a Pendy, and kind of going a little bit further down the board, Billy Ho at plus 180. If we wanted to get a little better of a number, I really, really like that one as well. And after watching last night, Minwoo Lee at plus 150 is kind of intriguing as well. But if I had to choose, I'd either choose one of the big dogs at the top or go with Billy Ho at plus 180 if we want a bit of a juicy number.
Well, I mean, Dusty has Lowry, and I'm fully in. You talk about his course history. I mean, if we put Lowry in at plus 110 and Sepp at plus 125 and add Billy Ho.
Yeah, what's Billy Ho? Because he's plus 180, right? That's gonna bump that number up pretty good.
That will, plus 180 for Horschel. So I think we end up getting probably a significantly better number just on a 3-gamer when you go from plus 150 to plus 180. And I mean, listen, we love the chef when he cooks, but you completely had me with the Billy Ho bit at the start. I've already bet him, so I think he'll be a fun guy to cheer. He wasn't a guy I used to like, and now I don't know if the TGL has completely turned me for Billy Ho.
Billy Ho, the biggest beneficiary of the TGL.
Yeah, all he had to do was come out with the fake chain and do the dirty bird, and I was completely in. And Atlanta Drive is, I know we're Bay Hive team, and we've been at the start. I do think that the final is going to be the Bay and Atlanta. TGL just keeps on getting better, Pat. A lot of people talking about it as well.
It was a lot of fun last night. Obviously, I had money on the Bay. I was a bit late, I'll be honest. I should have bet it earlier in the week. And I would suggest, like, if you're looking at TGL action, get your bets in earlier. But no doubt, it's been a lot of fun. But I had the all California parlay. I had the Bay and the LA Lakers parlayed together. I think it came out just to about even money. And, the Bay comes through. Got a little bit dicey there, but Shane Lowry played real well. Minwoo played really well, which kind of led me to believe, like, I got to go back and look and see, like, the guys that play in the TGL the week of. I'd be very interested to see how that translate to the week leading up. But if I know there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be betting on those two guys, and based off, the confidence that they were exuding, I certainly would think that. So I kind of agree with you, although LAGC looks pretty
the comeback of all time.
The greatest comeback. And
that happened.
I still can't believe that happened. I was screaming at my TV. Never thought I'd be so intense and fired up for simulator golf, but here we are. Yeah, TGL's been a smashing success. I think next year will only be better. I don't know if you guys saw Brooks Koepka was there last night, creeping his nose around.
I didn't see that.
Yeah,
I didn't see that pop up. Really?
So they didn't show him on the broadcast, obviously probably for some reasons, but
yeah,
there were some pictures floating around that he was chatting with Max Homa and a couple of the other guys. So he was there.
Well, is TGL going to be the link that saves golf?
It could be.
Is this going to be the starting point for it? Maybe.
Well, Brooks, I'm sure, would be so into something like this.
Oh yeah,
like,
he would love this
because it's sort of fun. The guys are yapping at each other, and it's in Florida.
I throw Bryson smack dab in the middle of this too. Just saying.
Just one thing on that. I mean, if you're one of these people that considers travel and all that, one thing, Patty, over the next little bit with the tour being in Florida, is that these guys don't have to go very far at all from the TGL earlier in the week to where they're playing in the event this week. So not a big turnaround. And by the way, speaking of the Bay, 2 days ago, we had the LA Atlanta parlay. We included the Bay yesterday. That one hit. And then I'm sure you were written all over this. The Bay Hive with the Bay to win and the Warriors to cover 16.5 in the combo cards also hit yesterday.
Yeah, I know.
Warriors absolutely smashed the Hornets last night. So everything we're touching with TGL seems to be good, but it does seem like there is that the Bay, LA, and Atlanta are sort of the teams right now. And, one of those other three teams will battle to try to get into the playoffs, but I'm here for it. I like it more and more each and every time I see it. And the fact now that we've had some really tight games, an incredible comeback, overtime, which is a chip off. We've seen a lot more of this event. And I think the players are having so much fun doing it that, that makes it that much more fun to be a part of it as a fan.
Yeah, it has been a lot of fun. And I think you guys talked about it. Like, I think it would be a really cool spectator sport to go watch. I know they're really focused in on like the celebrities that are there, but if they could find a way, it's really tough for them to build more of these buildings, but if there's ever a way where there's one on the West Coast, one on the East Coast, and really expand it, you have maybe 2 conferences. There's just so much potential. Like, get a live team.
Jeez, we're talking 2 conferences now in TGL. Hey, amazing!
Expansion.
But could you imagine? Expansion, like an expansion draft? Could you imagine like if Liv has a team like the Saudi Snipers and it's like John Rahm and Brooks Koepka and Bryson DeChambeau? Like, could you imagine if they get a team in? Like, I know they're associated with the PGA Tour, but like if we ever do get this merger, you can't tell me that the Liv guys aren't going to want a piece of this thing.
Give me a Canadian team. Let's get Nick Taylor.
That would be fun, yeah.
And Hadwin. Those guys love playing and hanging out with each other. Corey Connors, Mac.
Well,
amazing.
Little look, like a look behind the curtain, obviously, with our connections with some of the Canadian golfers that we have. There was some discussions that possibly for year 2, there could be a Canadian team interested in putting something together. So, that has been discussed.
I saw Steve Cohen. Steve Cohen, the owner of the Mets, owns the New York team. We might not have Cohen's scratch, but maybe we can just pool together. Heck, we can just keep on winning these bets, and we'll put it all towards a TGL franchise for Canada and sign all our favorite Canadian golfers for next year's season 2.
I love
TGL
it.
season 1 leads to TGL Canadian expansion just on betting, that'd be quite something. Patty, we know you got to get going here, buddy. So thank you very much for sliding in. We're going to go Straka plus 125, Billy Ho plus 180, and Shane Lowry plus 110 on a top 20 parlay for the Cognizant Classic. And we'll chat again soon, buddy.
Sounds like a plan. I think I'm going to put a cut parlay together since we got the top 20 here.
Yeah.
So keep your eyes on the combo cards. Greggy's golf special probably would be 4 players to make the cut.
Auto ride. Let's go.
Let's do it.
Sounds good. There you go. That's Pat Gregoire from Coolbet. Find him on Twitter at P. Greggy. He does a bunch of NLL stuff for TSN. You know, Huss, this is a good omen here. I'm sitting at this Boston Pizza, and I just looked over at the TV on the right, and they're showing Shane Lowry in the TGL. Yes. And I was just like, wow, what are the odds of that? We just locked this guy in here. I've got him as one of my picks. And, a happy-go-lucky guy having a good time there in TGL action as well. So, all right. So there we go. Anything else on golf, Huss? You see, I saw somebody somebody texted in, and I went to try to confirm this one way or the other. Maximili texted in and says, did you guys see that Bryson is not extending his live contract? So then I went over on Twitter, and it looks like he's under contract for all of 2026 anyway. So there were some reports that he wasn't going to extend. He was going to be able to try to get back on PGA Tour next year, but it looks like his contract goes through 2026 and hasn't been extended past that. But he won't be on the PGA Tour next year. That's what I've determined on a quick Twitter search. So for that person listening, it texted that in.
So much that needs to be figured out. Like, will the guys be allowed back? There'll be a lot of pushback from the players that are there right now. I mean, they've moved down to the 100. It's the top 50, and then the next 50 get cards. How do the live guys fit into that? Do they have to qualify? Are they just given spots? So, I mean, this has been incredibly messy for a number of years. I don't think it's going to be any less messy, but I do think the potential of us seeing a few more of the live guys in some of the bigger events outside of the majors is a lot greater now, and DeChambeau would be at the top of that list. Let's pivot over to hockey for a minute. I did take in that Oiler game last night amongst the others.
You did, hey?
I did.
Poor guy.
They're like, what's the take? Is this just sort of okay? You know, they went to this game 7 of the Cup final last night. They had to break, just kind of a slowly getting out, or is this? I mean, the trade deadline is next week. I mean, at the end of Friday, this is going to be your team. How much is that maybe driving the narrative around the Nielsen show and EST streets these days on because, like, let's face it, they've looked pretty ugly and apathetic for about 3 games coming out of the break.
Well, and they had struggled a bit going into the break as well, and you were hoping that maybe the break would be that thing that sort of got them back on track. It certainly hasn't. They've been very average to below average for about 10 games now. And the weird thing is that they're nobody's injured. Like, they're not missing guys. This is the roster that they've had when they were the best team in the league from November 20th to January 20th. Like, it's just, I can't put a finger on what's going on. Last night, Chris Knobloch came out post-game and said, the team's very fragile right now. And I'm like, how is a team that went to game 7 of the Stanley Cup final last year being described as fragile after everything they went through and the ups and downs to get to a Stanley Cup final? I thought that was kind of not a good look for the team to be described as fragile by their head coach right now. So I also don't think that, there's a bunch of solutions out there via trade. Like, they have a really good team right here. They've proven it already this year. They just are going through this slide right now where we said it this morning. Like, the team that we've seen since the break looked like the team that has just gotten coaches fired over the last 6 years here. And they're not going to fire a coach. They just brought in Knobloch, but it looks like that team right now, which has started season slow, started bad after Christmas, and now started poorly after this break as well. So they've managed to pull themselves out of it. Previous situations, I'm assuming they probably will here as well, but Hussett is not going over very well in Edmonton right now.
It's funny that you mentioned coaching. We were at Wynn last night, and we had the games all up, and the Oilers finish, and then we heard that interview from Knobloch.
Yeah,
my buddy just looks at me and goes, "Knobloch, hot seat, getting hotter." Kind of late to make that sort of a change, but coach is hired to be fired, and of course you're the guy was hired like 15 months ago. They can't change the coach again. No, I'm not suggesting that they do. I'm just saying it's kind of funny that it is funny. We are getting to that point. Well, as the Oilers sort of figure it out, the one thing I'll say about Edmonton is that it's a really old team.
They are. They got older and they got slower since last year. Not usually what you want to do with your moves.
Well, listen, the game is getting so fast. I mean, that is an argument on the speed of the club, but I will say I'm less worried about the Oilers, especially with the leadership group and the guys that they've got steering, driving the bus, and McDavid and Draisaitl. I'd say the Oilers, probably as much as any team in the league, have the ability to turn it around, press the button, flip the switch, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, that's what they've done.
Well, exactly. They've done that on a few occasions right now. Now, you don't want to keep on coming back to, kind of keep on going back to that well. But, man, the Pacific right now is so tight. And, with the Oilers losing 4 straight, I mean, they had a nice, comfortable lead, I thought, where they were. And now, they're behind Vegas. And you've got the Kings coming. The Kings are only 2 games back. They've got 3 games in hand on Edmonton and are only 3 points back. So by points percentage, the Oilers are actually in 3rd place right now. I could really do without. Would this be 5 straight years of Kings Oilers in the first round?
It would be the 5th year that they played in the playoffs. Yes, in a row.
I mean, there should almost be a rule that the NHL puts in that, after 4 straight
you can't
years,
do that.
We're just giving you something different. Because, as I said, I was quite hoping that we would see the Oilers win the Pacific. Vegas and the Kings could beat the hell out of each other in that first round. And then, we'd be one step closer potentially to our lock shot bowl in the Western Conference Final of Winnipeg and Vegas. There you go. Look at that. Winnipeg Jets, last 10-0-0. Never in my life have I been able to say that or look at that. And they're going to try and make it W11 in the streak column tonight against the Ottawa Senators. And Dusty, I'm still waiting on confirmation on Connor Hellebuck, who I believe they expect to start tonight. The Jets do have back-to-backs today and tomorrow. So I think it projects that Comrie likely plays tomorrow night against the Predators. But as far as tonight goes, I mean, the Jets are minus 144 on the money line. And I know they're on the road. And I know the Sens have had sort of a tough run as of late.
They've not been great lately. Ottawa, right? But
they were hoping to get help back today. It ain't coming. No Brady Tkachuk, no Shane Pinto, no Josh Norris. All of those players are approaching their return, but it won't happen tonight. And, man, when you take out 3 of their top forwards and put them in front of the buzzsaw that is the Jets right now with the way that they're running, I was expecting this game would be more like minus 165 or minus 170 for Winnipeg as opposed to minus 144.
I think it was minus 135 this morning when we were doing our show. So it's starting to head in that direction, but it's minus 144 right now. That was one of the plays that, there's only 3 games tonight in the National Hockey League. I believe Ullmark is confirmed to start. Ullmark's confirmed to start for Ottawa. Mackenzie Blackwood is confirmed to start for Colorado. Jake Allen unconfirmed at this point for the Devils. And then the Canucks and Kings later on tonight, expecting Lankinen and Darcy Kemper, but not yet decided there. But yeah, I think Winnipeg's in a really nice spot here. You know how you kind of squeak out that 10th win against San Jose,
and the 9th.
A little bit of a reset here. You're right, actually. Geez, so should we look at it and go, man, they're just hanging on here to this winning streak? I like Winnipeg tonight. I know it's on the road and stuff, but I like the Jets at minus 144 tonight.
Yeah, listen, I'm in on that. We'll put together a WST parlay for it. To me, I am completely locked in on Winnipeg and LA. LA's minus 173 at home. If you just put those 2 games together, it's plus 167. The game that I'm having a much harder time figuring out, and 2 teams that I'm having a harder time figuring out, is this Devils Avalanche game, which is a hell of a matchup. We got Hughes, you got Nate McKinnon. Devils are a plus 125 money line dog. The Avalanche are minus 147, but the Avalanche haven't looked particularly good coming out of the break. It's not just the Oilers. They lost at home to the Predator, they lost in Nashville to the Predators 2-1, followed that up the next night with a 3-1 loss to the St. Louis Blues. Now they get back home which is certainly a positive for them. And then you look at the Devils, and listen, I thought Jack Hughes was one of the most underwhelming players of Team USA, especially in the final. He did not look that comfortable. But anyways, they went into Nashville in their last time out, won 5-0. So they're feeling good. Part of me just, hey, Nate McKinnon, Avalanche needing win.
That's what I said this morning. Yeah, I took the Avs this morning as my play of the day for that reason, Huss. Like, they've lost 2 coming out of the break. They're back home for this game here. I just think it's a really nice spot for those guys to kind of take over a hockey game here for the Colorado Avalanche tonight. So, but I mean, what'd you say the number was on just the Jets and the Kings?
Plus 167.
Yeah.
I easily play a 2-gamer, but I mean, with 3 games in, I think we want to do it. I mean, obviously it's a little chalky. Who knows? There might already be a chalk parlay up right now.
There might be, yeah. Let's see here. No, nothing up in the combo cards at least.
So the Lamplighters is up. Kyle Connor and Nathan McKinnon. That's at plus 490 right now. And the points from the point is Morrissey, Makar, and Drew Doughty. Doughty had 3 points in that last game over Vegas. Yeah. I mean, he's seems like he, after all that rest earlier this season, has come back, played in the Four Nations, and has come out of it playing at a really, really high level. So a couple nice Lamplighter and points from the point right now up there in the exclusives. Well, what about a total for this game?
I was looking at the total. Yeah, I was just thinking about that. Maybe we look at a total.
5.5 is the number. Now, the Avalanche have played unders their last 2 games. The Preds in Nashville was an under because they had a shutout. But both of these teams can't score. I mean, if we're having a little tougher time, or we don't maybe just want to do the picking the 3 favorites, because it's hard to get off LA or Winnipeg, in my opinion.
Yeah. Maybe
we take the minus 122 on the over 5.5.
I was going to say, if we're going side here, I would be on the over. And what's let's see. So what is that? What would that add to? Let's see here.
Let's see.
Over 5.5.
387.
87 plus a boost. So it'll be over 4-1. Kings at home, Jets on the road, and then the over in the New Jersey Colorado game. Plus 387 pre-boost.
Why don't we lock that in for today's partner parlay?
Okay, let's do that.
A little 3 in a row. No big deal.
Yeah. Oh man, wouldn't that be something? And you got pressure on you here for the play of the day too, don't you, Huss? Keep a little run going.
Pressure for everything. I mean, I barely. The funny thing is, the only thing that I was talking about betting yesterday that didn't come through, and I forgot. I was thinking on the Nashville, and I never bet
the Nashville game. I was wondering if you ended up betting that.
But, it was so much fun watching those games last night. As they say, we kind of posted up at a bar with the full Sunday ticket, or the center ice. We had all the games on. And, very early on, it was 1-1, Islanders, Rangers, and then boom, it was 5-1. So that
quick one there.
Basically. But Minnesota started off 2-0 on Detroit. I'm going, oh, man, this is going to be the one. And we were watching the Oilers, and one of the other games finished up. We got over there. And Detroit popped back with 2 in the second to tie it up, and then took the lead in the third period. And and at that point, St. Louis was already up to like 5 or 6 goals. They ended up putting up 7 on Seattle. So it was essentially Wings hold on to win to cash that ticket, and it came through. So, plus 650 and just right around 6-1. It was funny. I got it at plus 579 when we dropped it on the show. Usually that number will come down. It actually went up yesterday. I'm not sure why, but the St. Louis number that we got it on dropped quite a bit. So if you bet that partner parlay closer to game time, you actually got it in excess of 6-1. So, hey, we will take it. This isn't quite as juicy as the other ones that we've had, but you give me a 4-1 winner, and I think everyone will go to sleep happy if we can make this happen again.
People will be pleased. With
3 in a row. And then tomorrow we'll have a big slate in the National Hockey League. I imagine Just looking ahead to tomorrow's
And what do we got for tomorrow?
And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 13 games in the NHL. So we'll have plenty of options tomorrow to dive in. You know, while we've got a second, I may as well pull up for our Winnipeg viewers or people that just want to ride with the team that's hotter than anyone right now.
WST parlay here.
Yeah. Player points for tonight. Connor minus 276, Scheifele minus 213. I see Stützle right up there. You know, I was talking about Ehlers and Perfetti going into that Sharks game. I know they didn't score as a group. Ehlers did assist on the winner. And actually, I think he actually did end up having 2 points because I think he had an assist on the Josh Morrissey tying goal in the final minute. But man, were they dangerous. I think I'm still going to, Cole Perfetti's plus 119 to get a point tonight. Just a single. I will probably potentially add that in there. Ehlers minus 159. And Nemetsnikov plus 122. That's the line that's been playing together in the 2-hole. And of course, you know, Ottawa is going to be focusing first and foremost on Scheifele, Connor, Velarde. So those guys might get going. And I don't see an Adam Lowry number. But Lowry, now that he's back in the swing of things for a couple of games, I might see him going on. Goal props for the Jets, plus 137 for KFC. Scheifele, plus 161. Velarde, who's been red hot, plus 215. Ehlers, plus 230. And Tim Stützle, the highest senator on that list at plus 230. And as far as the totals go, sometimes I just like to make these Hellebuck bets and taking team totals. The Sens, under 1.5 plus 215, under 2.5 minus 128. So maybe we'll pop the Sens team total into the WST parlay as well. But we'll cook that up and we'll fire that out when we're doing the Coolbet lines towards the end of today's show over on Winnipeg Sports Talk. What was back to the Nielsen show for a moment and the feedback from yesterday's Oiler game? I mean, you've done this for a long time. I mean, you know what a 10 is on the panic meter.
Oh, yeah.
Where is it right now? Are we middle? Like, were we kind of at a 4 or 5, or is it?
I don't know. You know, like probably just pushing past the 6, and it's just sort of hovering there. It's just sort of hovering. It's not ready to go up to 7 yet, but it's not coming down below 5 anytime soon, I don't think. So the real interesting thing is the Oilers going to Florida tomorrow, who will not have Matthew Tkachuk, but is the place that they lost Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final. And you've lost 4 in a row for the first time since 2023. I mean, if they don't come out with at least a better effort than we've seen the last 3 games, then that's probably going to push up to a 7 around the city. Like Friday morning will probably be a full-blown damage control if they don't play well again and lose, 4-1, let's say, to the Florida Panthers without Tkachuk. Like that wouldn't go over well, buddy. Like I'm just going to tell you right now, like if they come out and play great and lose in overtime or something, you start to see some positive signs, but like they just they haven't checked back in yet. Like they look right now, they look like a non-playoff team that knows they're eliminated and they're just going out to play a game. Like you're just, it's been bad. Bouchard had 5 turnovers in last night's hockey game, including a turnover 20 seconds into the game. Like got the puck, turned it over, grade A scoring chance. And you're just like, this is not the way you want to start games. So we'll get into that a little bit more coming up on the oil stream today for sure. At your local establishment last night, Huss, after the hockey, did they end up throwing the Lakers and Mavs on at all? Did they get like a corner screen somewhere?
Did we put the Lakers and Mavs on? I think probably. I got there sort of early, and I wanted to pick up a pizza before it closed. So we got out after the early slate of games. I didn't end up doing the marathon 6 p.m.
So you want to snag a zaw on the way home?
Yeah,
like after. That makes sense.
Pick up a pie before 10 that it finished up. So we did that, and then I caught some of it in the at home. I was pumped. I kind of turned it on. It was the fourth quarter. I'm like, oh, Luka's got 17. We're just going to cruise to this under on the 30.5. And then I was also looking, at the spread, and lo and behold, Mavs +9 came through. I mean, I can't take any credit for it. That was just
it was 16. Like the Lakers were up by 16 in the second quarter, and then it was a tie game early in the fourth quarter. So it was a really good basketball game last night. I pretty much got the kids to bed, settled in, missed like the first 5 or 6 minutes, and then watched the rest of the game. And it was the one thing I just want to point out from that game, like Luka was really good, had the triple-double, finished with the 19 points, but did have his first triple-double come against his old team. LeBron was 16 points in the fourth quarter. When the game's kind of hanging in the balance, he sort of sealed it away. Reeves is great. I love him. But Kyrie Irving is such a baller. Like,
he's still got it, man.
Oh, he was like, just as a guy, and I've kind of been a fan of his since he was at Duke, and I know he's kind of out there sometimes, but his ability to shake and bake wherever he needs to get get his shot off as a smaller guy is really impressive. Like last night is just, when he does things, you're just like, well, you can't do anything about that. Like, what are you supposed to do about that? Like, he gets shots off when it doesn't look like he's in a position to get a shot off, finds his way to get to the hoop. He had, I don't know what he finished with, but I'm pretty sure it was over 30 points last night. Like, he was terrific last night, man. Like, he was really good. I love watching that guy play ball.
I'm going to say this. I think, and this is part of the reason why I made that bet last night on the under and the Mavs. I think the narrative around this trade is that it's the worst trade ever. It's the most insane, and it's killed the Mavs. I think that is greatly exaggerated because they have Kyrie, they've got Clay, and when AD comes back in, I think we're going to be getting really good value on Dallas. I'm telling you right now that I'm going to sort of adopt them as a spread team to play. And, maybe as we get towards the playoffs, because it's clear that they decided that they have prioritized defense.
Yeah.
Like not just having one guy that can chuck it up from ever and make the brilliant shots. Now, listen, that did get you to the finals last year. I guess my point is I think a lot of people have just written off the Mavericks. And I think that might be a little foolish because they still do have a lot of talent on that team and they might look a little different, but there is a scenario where at least in the short term, they're actually a more competitive team when it comes to winning playoff series and being there. I know that sounds nuts considering they won the West last year.
Yeah, that's the thing. They did win the West last year. They're 7-1-1. Like for your spread plays, they're 7-1-1 against the spread, or 7-2-1 against the spread in their last 10.
Yeah, and that's I think people are so out on Dallas. Oh, Luka's gone. We're betting against them every time, and it's biting people in the butt.
And the good news for you is that their next game is against the Hornets. So there could be a spanking coming in there.
Well, that's the thing. Although, those are those huge numbers. Although last night, Golden State won by 36 or 38, something like that. It wasn't even close. But just coming out of Four Nations, I mentioned how bizarre it was to be cheering for Jordan Binnington, to be cheering for Brad Marchand. I've completely come around on Mitch Marner as well.
I saw Jake saying you're texting him last night.
We were watching. We had that game, and he made an awesome play to win the game in OT. And for the first time, I'm actually thinking, listen, would I pay him $14 million? Probably not.
It's a lot of money.
I know he's a hometown guy. He's a big part. And if you lose him, you got to fill a pretty significant offensive hole. But I think Mitch can change a ton of the narrative around him. And I think part of he sort of got to do that in the final game last Thursday against the U.S. The play that he made on Bennett's goal was absolutely crucial to being in that game. And he makes the beautiful pass to McDavid to win the whole thing. This is a guy I think that needs... It's crazy because he's one of the top players in the world. He's on Team Canada. But I think there is a bit of a confidence thing with Mitch, especially in the big moments in the past. And I got to think he's a guy that might have a huge, huge bump from being on that team and doing what he did. And tell you what, after a lot of miserable nights in the TD Garden for Mitch and the Leafs, he's had two pretty nice ones in the past week. Obviously winning the gold medal in that game last night. So we'll see what happens. I know we pay mostly attention to the West and everything that's going on there, but I mean, the Leafs are going to be a playoff team. Mitch going into unrestricted free agency with the Four Nations bump and feeling it. It could be a pretty interesting story just to follow what he does and what that means for his next contract and where he might be.
What's coming up on WST, Huss?
Well, we are going to be all over this game tonight in Ottawa. Alex Adams is going to join us from Ottawa. We'll also have Murata Tesh join us to kind of take a look ahead to the trade deadline and some of the other big stories around the club. And lock shoppers that are into curling, highly recommend, even if you can't join us live, go back. John Cullen, a.k.a. Cullen on Curling, is coming on today. We're going to be getting his thoughts. He, of course, is with the Grand Slam of Curling, so has been with these teams, following them all year long. We're going to get the lowdown on the top teams in the field. Basically, I'm doing some lock shop research for Friday's
That's
show.
What it sounds like. That's what I was going to say.
WST today, but a bit of a deep dive on the Briar field and talking about. By the way, if you're a curling fan, we talk about this a little bit on the interview. Obviously, we do a million podcasts. We're cranking out these pods every single day. John put together a curling podcast, a podcast series called Broomgate. And it is, first of all, I think it might be the most well-produced podcast I've ever heard. And it is worth your time. But I had heard there was a bunch of ads on it when I was listening to, I don't even know what, I'm like, oh, I'll check this out.
Yeah.
I listened to the first couple of episodes and I was like, when is the next one coming out? When is the next one? Like, I could not wait for it. It was that good. So if you are interested in the intrigue, the drama, and everything that happens with curling, and particularly what's happened with the brooms over the number of years, and there's more controversy this year, highly recommend, if you've got some time, download Broomgate and check it out. It's a fun listen to, and it's incredibly well put together. So for you curling fans, or if you want a little bit of intel before we make our picks for the Briar, we'll do that in the second hour of Winnipeg Sports Talk as well. And in the meantime, I'll be cooking up something for the WST parlay that will drop a little later on in the Coolbet exclusives. Do not miss that.
WST starting up in a couple of minutes. We'll have the oil stream coming up as well. If you're in the area on 97th Street, I'm at the Namale Boston Pizza for lunch today. $15 lunches in less than 20 minutes if you want to pop by and have a quick bite to eat. Tommy Gazzola is going to join me. He's at home today. He's going to pop by. Thank you very much for joining us on the Lock Shop today. Best of luck tonight, and we will talk to you tomorrow.